Good afternoon. I'm Kim from Stones Hill Homestead, and I'm just here to share a few things about the 2023 Pantry Challenge that Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead has been doing and has challenged us all to take part in this, and I appreciate her. So we are 13 days in, and many people have questions about the Pantry Challenge as to who is doing it, why, what do you do during the Pantry Challenge? Well, the who is whoever wants to. It is me and my husband, and we participate. This is our second year that we've done it. Last year, a year ago today, I fell and I broke my back. I broke at T11. And we soon discovered that we needed help, and my children and their wives and my grandchildren came and they stayed with us for 12 to 16 weeks, and they made sure that we were well taken care of. Unfortunately, at the same time, 3 weeks prior to me breaking my back, my husband broke his ankle and was also unable to help care for me. So we were in need of help, and we were very blessed. But we started the Pantry Challenge in mid-January when I broke my back. The main reason we started it was we had no income coming in. He is self-employed. I had no work at that point on from falling and breaking my back. We just felt that we needed to do this to make our food supplies last and to use up what we had. And we got started, and we decided that we would not buy groceries and use up what we had stored. So what we did was we went through our pantry, the kids did, and they used whatever we had in our freezers and our pantry on our shelves. We just used what we had. And the why was we wanted to use up what we had worked so hard to prepare for. We wanted to use up that, plus we needed to save money, and that was the main reason we did it. A lot of people think that if you are a prepper, that you have a big stockpile, that you're a prepper, and that's not the case. It is just having food insurance. It is making sure that you have the food you need when you need it in the event of injury, illness. And for the past 2 years, my family has been hit hard. My husband had COVID. He was down for 12 weeks. It was a very trying time for us. And then he broke his ankle, and then I broke my back. So for 2 years, we have really struggled with income, but we never struggled with maintaining our food supply. That came from our garden, that came from our butchering. We do not live on a farm. We do purchase our meat and then have it butchered, but it had already been done prior to those injuries and those illnesses. During the pandemic, I had also lost my job, so I started being more frugal. I just worked through things that you have to work through, and that's the main reason that we do the Pantry Challenge, is to be good stewards of our money, of our food, of our supplies. So the first reason that we do the Pantry Challenge is to work through our bulk food storage. We have things that are in bulk, such as rolled oats. We have maybe flours or sugars, rice, beans, things like that. But it's on a first in, first out basis. So whatever we had just bought goes to the back of the shelf, and we work through the older items. We buy through Azure Standard. It is a bulk supply that comes out of the West Coast. They deliver locally. There's stops all over the United States that they drop food for these people that want to have high quality, organic, non-GMO foods. You can buy small quantities and very large quantities. 25-pound bags of flour or sugar, 50-pound bags of rice and beans, or 1 container of Nancy's probiotic sour cream, which would be a pound container. They do understand that there are families that don't need those bulk quantities, but still want the high quality. You can get organic things locally, but the prices are so much higher through them or through Amazon, Sam's, or Costco. I do price check. I make sure that I'm getting item for item exact quality before I decide to either buy from Azure or another retailer. And the reason I do that is because I want to make sure I'm getting the biggest bang for my buck. So that is the number one reason. Work through my bulk food storage. The number 2 reason is random ingredients I find on the shelf, whether it be condiments or pickles or 4 kinds of mustard, or a bag of rice, or a box of macaroni and cheese. It might even be a freezer pizza that I had bought at the store, which I don't hardly ever buy, but my grandkids and my kids, they do come over. They do like those items. And so on occasion, when we go to the store together, they'll say they want a box of macaroni and cheese for lunch the next day rather than my homemade. I'm okay buying that. I keep things because you just never know. The random ingredients we want to work through, we want to check those expiration dates. We want to make sure that the best use by are being used first. If they're getting close, we pull those things out and we decide what we're going to make and be intentional about how we're going to use it. Forgotten freezer items. I know many of us have dug down in and wonder what is in that box or what's in that bag, and you pull it out and realize there is something that's 2 years old that is either freezer burnt or it has gone bad and you have to pitch it. I don't like doing that. So I'm going to go through that freezer. I'm going to organize, make sure my beef, my pork, my seafood, my chicken, that they are there. We have some venison. I'm going to make sure that those things are getting used in a timely fashion so that we do not waste our hard-earned money or our effort that we have made to produce this. Bags of shredded zucchini I use. I make sure that nothing has fell down in the cracks. I really want to stay organized, and I keep certain things in groups and organized so that I can make sure that we are using those things. The next thing, the biggest number 4 reason. So the first reason is work through bulk. Second is use up those random ingredients. Number 3 is the forgotten freezer items. Number 4 is to save money. We will not be going to the grocery store in February or in January. Last year, we went to the grocery store in 6 weeks. We went one time. We spent $11.15. That was with me, my husband, my 2 adult children and their families here every weekend, helping us. We fed them with that, and that is the only thing we bought. However, they don't live in our household, so if they brought food in to bless us during our time that we were down, that was very much appreciated. But we did not go out and buy groceries. We didn't go out to eat. We stayed home. We want to use what we grew in our garden or we had butchered for our freezers. We want to be intentional. Why would I can 30 pints of green beans only to watch it set on a shelf? I want to use that so that next year I have fresh produce coming in again. And I want to create a spot for the new produce that comes in next season. Three Rivers Homestead Jessica often says when you have 7 jars empty, it's time to fill them and put something in them and get them back on your shelf. And I find that that is a great way to do it. I see 7-quart jars that are empty. What can I can? Whether it be juice, whether it be meat, whether it be vegetable stew or beef broth or bone broth, which fill those jars very quickly. taking the leftover bones, cooking them down, and making your very healthy bone broth. It's very healthy for you, especially during flu season. Number 5 is to shake things up a little bit, to try new recipes, to try things that you haven't done, and to use those items on your shelf. We had last week, for the first week of Pantry Challenge, we had something called buttered chicken. Never had it before. It is a curry dish. It's very Indian. It's got that lovely curry in it, and it was phenomenal. We loved the buttered chicken. It came from Epicure, the seasoning packet did. Epicure is a gluten-free service that I do use because I do try to eat gluten-free. I am very intolerant to gluten, and I try to avoid that at all costs. However, sometimes gluten does come into my system, and I do have a lot of problems with that. So growing and producing my own food also helps my health with that, because I know what's in my food, I know what's in my recipes. The things that we run out of that are big are produce, fresh fruit, milk, and eggs. And right now with the price of eggs, my grocery budget does not need to go for pantry items. I am able to save back that grocery budget for those high-priced eggs when I need them. At $5 a dozen is the minimum right now. I saw at Kroger's this week in our area, it was $3.39 for a dozen eggs. I was at Sam's a week after Christmas, in between Christmas and New Year's. I was there, and they didn't have any eggs. And what they did have was the prices on the shelves, and I was looking at 5 dozen eggs, and they were like $23 for 5 dozen eggs. Very, very bad prices, and I'm not used to those. So I save my budget for those things like eggs, where I don't have to buy staples anymore. My big reason is being intentional, using what we have, being good stewards. We have food insurance, we have medical insurance, we have life insurance, we have auto insurance, house insurance. We protect those things. Those insurances are no different than having a pantry that is stocked, so when you have a time of need, that is your food insurance. So in January, no groceries. We don't go to the grocery store. We use everything that we possibly can close to expiration date. We use up what was left over from the holidays after New Year's, the lettuces, the soft veggies, the lettuces, the things, the avocados, the bananas, things like that we have to use so that we can prepare another dish, and so they don't go to waste. I had 4 bananas that were very ripe. I made my husband and my grandchildren banana bread. They loved it. It was use of bananas. I could have froze them, but they preferred the banana bread because they were here for the weekend. We will not go out to eat. However, my husband is over the road, owner operator for driving semi, and he's out on the road. He has to do his own thing. He does have meals in his truck that he can heat up in the microwave. We make sure that he always has food that way so that he can reduce his budget out on the road. But there are times he just has to eat at a restaurant. He has to buy food, and he is an adult. That is what we have to do. We know that there are things that will come into play. For everybody, you make your own rules. That's one thing nice about this pantry challenge is there's no rules. You make up your own rules. So my husband, he does eat out in the road, but he's gone days at a time, sometimes weeks at a time. So we have to make sure that he is prepared. He has food in the truck in the event of an emergency, plus he can go to the restaurants, which he chooses to do. February, my budget is $10 a week. I know that doesn't sound like much. Again, I said in January we spent $11.15 for our food budget for the whole 6 weeks last year. And we did fine. So I did allow $10 a week because of the eggs and the milk, the fresh produce, and fresh fruit. I will still continue to get my Azure haul. I ordered in December. It comes January 22nd. The one thing I know though about that order is I won't use any of those items until March. I put them in the back of the pantry and first in, first out method. And we do that. So it's always rotating our stock. It's always rotating so that we don't have things that expire in the back of the shelf. So pull those things forward. So there will be one item in that order that is refrigerated that I will have to use, and I will include that in my grand total at the end of February. It is cabbage from Azure Standard. I have fresh cabbage coming, and I forgot that that was it. I would have taken that off the order, but I just forgot. So I'm going to use that cabbage rather than having to go to the grocery store. I'm just going to use that cabbage and make kimchi with it, or I'll make some coleslaw with it, or lettuce wraps, something along that line. So, but I will include that to be part of our grocery budget for January and February. So the first week I used up a lot of leftovers. I made the butter chicken, I had banana bread, we had salads, we had veggies, fresh veggies, we used up some cucumbers, many different things that we used. We had pizza with the kids one night. Here at the house, we didn't leave, we didn't go to the grocery store, we didn't order in, but we did have pizza one night with them. So we did use up that. So there again, it's just using what we have and making a fun time of it. My grandchildren last year, they didn't know you could make Pop-Tarts. So I, again, followed a recipe from Acre Homestead, which is Becky, and she tried making Pop-Tarts, and she has a video out there, and we made Pop-Tarts, and the children just loved the Pop-Tarts. My youngest son was here. He loved his Pop-Tart. They found out we can make those types of treats with ingredients that we have in our shelf, in our pantry, and we know what's in it with no preservatives. They loved that. We made homemade pizzas. We have made homemade pretzels, things that so often we just run to the store and buy. They were able to learn how to do and use the things from the pantry to sustain and to make the meals. So over the next week, the next month, the next 2 months, there's some things that I'm looking to do. Some cooking, and I hope to share with you some canning. I do have some things that I may be putting up for that were left over in the garden that I have not got to yet. I just canned some tomato jam and some Italian tomato sauce that I had. I had 4 gallons of frozen tomatoes in my freezer that had to be used, and we had to do something with. So I made canning. I made the Italian pasta sauce and the tomato jam, which I'm going to be using tonight for one of our recipes. I hope to share gardening with you in the future. I hope to share some other recipes. I'd like to do sorghum cookies this week. That is my goal. I would want to maybe video my pantry clean out so you can see where it is and what has happened through that. I'm working on sourdough right now. It is resting right now, so I hope to show you my sourdough video. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comment section. I would love if you would like and subscribe, share my video, at least on the who, what's, and whys of the Pantry Challenge. We love having you join us, and I definitely appreciate everything that you do and taking the time out to watch this video. I look forward to talking to you next week and showing what I did for week 3 of our Pantry Challenge and some recipes with you. Thank you so much and have a blessed day.